Hello, everyone. It's regarding the important dates of the Khmer Rouge Revolution. You may have already listened to my previous lecture, which was about 45 minutes on the Khmer Rouge Revolution in Cambodia. This um, uh, uh, this lecture is quickly to give you provide you the important dates of the history of Cambodia, and then again a bit of information of the Khmer Rouge Revolution. So it's all there already in the 45 minutes recording on Khmer Rouge Revolution that I provided earlier. But anyway, for a bit of clarification, I thought of providing the important dates. So, as I mentioned, that Cambodia was a protectorate of France for about 90 years. So, it became a French protectorate in 1863, and it remained under the French colonial rule. Then, during the Second World War in 1941, Japan occupied Cambodia. So France was no longer in control of Cambodia. But at the end of the Second World War in 1945, Japan surrendered, and hence its occupation in Cambodia ended. In 1946, France reimposed its protectorate, so it got Cambodia back to its control. But then again, there was a development. France permitted the Cambodians to have a new constitution and to form their political parties. So, in that, under the circumstances, we see the development of political parties in Cambodia. There was some political parties that endorsed the communist ideology, particularly the Chinese communist ideology. Though we know that China got its was influenced, or Chinese communism has been directly from the Leninist Marxist communism of Soviet Union. In 1953, Cambodia got its independence from France, and King Sihanouk became the head of the country, and now Cambodia had a kingdom. So there it was the Kingdom of Cambodia. In 1960, King Sihanouk died, and his son Prince Sihanouk became the head of state. Now we will see some interesting development, regional politics, and how it impacted on Cambodian politics. Um, as we have discussed during the Vietnamese revolution, that how the Cold War impacted in Vietnam, and during the Vietnam War, it was the direct impact of Cold War, or the Cold War. Vietnam, we can say Vietnam was a base of the Cold War between Soviet Union and the United States. So Soviet Union stood for communism, but in the context of the Vietnam War, it was more of a Chinese communism that supported North Vietnam, and the U.S. backed backed the politics, the U.S. Military backed the South Vietnamese government and military. So in this regional politics, Cambodia was affected, and also it got involved. In 1965, Prince Sihanouk, he broke his ties with the United States, and he allowed the North Vietnam to have their base in Cambodia. Then in 1969, United States had launched campaign against the North Vietnamese forces in the Cambodian soil. So now it has Cambodia became directly involved in the Cold War. From 1970 to 1975, Cambodia witnessed the civil war, and it was between the ruling regime, which the leader Lon Nol, who overthrew the king, Prince Sihanouk, and he came to power. He became the premier of the state, or the head of the state, and he was the supporter of the United States and South Vietnam. And the opposition party was the Khmer Rouge guerrilla, or the rebel party led by Pol Pot. So this civil war lasted for 5 years, 1970 to 75, and later Khmer Rouge, they rebellions they won, and the revolution, Khmer Rouge revolution, lasted for 4 years, from 1975 to 1979. In 1979, Vietnam invaded Cambodia, and as a result, Khmer Rouge revolutionaries, including Pol Pot, fled from the country, and left the country. Later on, Vietnam left Cambodia, and Cambodia got its entity as a sovereign, independent country.